I'm the oldest son of 17 children, and if you bothered one of my brothers, I cleaned your clock, and if you bothered one of my sisters, you better leave town. And I grew up like that. I went in the Army in '46, and my kid brother was killed in an accident in Korea, and I re-enlisted for combat duty in Korea. The Army couldn't believe that's what I wanted, but I made up my mind that you can't kill my brother and get away with it. So I went over there with kind of vengeance is mine kind of attitude.
22-year-old Ronald Rosser's quest for retribution led him into a heavily fortified area of the Korean peninsula known as the Iron Triangle. There, on an icy January day in 1952, the young corporal got his wish in a savage engagement with a full battalion of heavily armed Chinese.
I was a fort observer, and I was attached to 11th Company of the 38th Infantry, and their mission was a company-sized raid on this Chinese mountain. It was a huge mountain outpost out there, and they had about a battalion of Chinese up there. It was 20 below zero at the time, and about a foot of crusty snow. We sent one platoon up the front of the mountain as a diversion, and the rest of the men there went around to the back of the mountain, which was a good half mile away. We had to fight our way through bunkers, trenches, lines all the way up. And by the time we got up to what we would call a assaulting position, we were down to about 35 men. All the officers were down. The company commander was hit in the face. We were in a really bad situation. So I got on my radio and I drugged my radio up to the company commander, and his whole face was frozen blood. I was surprised he could even talk. And the colonel told him to reorganize and make one final attempt to take the mountain. And the company commander said, "Yes, sir." He looked up and he got this very hopeless look on his face. And I said, "Well, I'll take it before you, Captain." And he said, "How you gonna do it?" I said, "I'm going straight ahead shooting, Captain. I'll take you men with me." So we jumped up, started shooting, and went straight into them. I got about 2 feet from the Chinese. The only thing that separated us was the dirt from their trench. I was on one side of it and they was on the other. And I stopped and looked back and I was by myself. All these other guys had been cut down behind me. And there I was. I went to all this trouble to get to Korea and get up on the front line, and here I could shake hands with them. And I said, "Well, Ron Rosser, you went to a lot of trouble to get here. Let's give it a go." I let out a war whoop like a wild Apache Indian and jumped in the trench with them. Close combat never bothered me like it did a lot of people. It always seemed like the enemy was a lot slower than me. They looked like they were in slow motion, and I was always on top of them. I fought my way over to a big old bunker, a machine gun bunker, and I done flanked the thing so he couldn't shoot me. And I had one White Phosphorus hand grenade, so I crawled up on top of the bunker and I kicked the spoon and rolled it in the back door. I got back on top of the bunker and I was going to try to hold that area so the troops could come up and help me. And I looked, and here come about 35 Chinese coming at me. I considered running, getting away from them, but I knew they'd just chase me down and shoot me. So I thought to myself, "Well, Ron Rosser, you're doing just great. They're going after him."
Impossibly outnumbered, Rosser fought his way along the enemy trench, inflicting heavy casualties and forcing the Chinese back to the safety of their command bunker.
This one guy was laying just a few feet from the Chinese trench. They were actually shooting over him, and he knew that there was no hope for him, And all at once he see me coming up there, and he said, I run up and I said, "Come on, boy, let's get the hell out of here." And the Chinese, they see me pick this kid up and start down the hill. And they jumped out of the trench and come running down after me, trying to shoot me and bayonet me. And this young lieutenant from the artillery had grabbed up a rifle, and he was knocking them down all around me. I got down there, and the lieutenant lowered his rifle, and he said, "Soldier," he said, "what's your name?" And I said, "Well, Lieutenant, my name's Rosser." He said, "Do you know what you're doing?" I said, "Yes, sir. I'm killing these fellows as fast as I can, but I'm out of ammo. I got to get you some damn ammo." And he said, "By golly, I want to shake your hand." So there we were right in the middle of a firefight, shaking hands. As I went down, started scrounging around, got some magazines from some of the wounded, and I started back up the mountain, dog trotting up the mountain toward the Chinese, and they were laying up in the trench waiting on me.
In all, Rosser personally assaulted the enemy trench 3 times, killing and wounding untold enemy soldiers and engineering the rescue of numerous American wounded.
When it was all over, a strange thing happened. I went back to Washington, and they took me into awards and decorations, and they showed me the folders on all these men that had been recommended for the medal, and every one of them had a cover letter from the commanding general, or the ranking officer in that unit. And mine was the only one that didn't have a cover letter. Mine had an artist's conception of me up on top of this mountain with my kid brother up in the sky above me, and halo and all that, and this light down on me. It still kind of breaks me up thinking about that. I was going to get personal vengeance, but you lose that. Too many people get killed, and you lose this edge, this bitterness you have. You get down to the real test of combat, which is surviving. I used to think about the Medal of Honor, and the importance of it. And a lot of people think that the great thing about the Medal of Honor is it's awarded by Congress and presented by the President. But to me, the real honor of the Medal of Honor is that a handful of young men who were with you at a difficult time thought you was worthy of it.